2024 and 2025 could be a very disastrous year for Call of Duty, and all of it pins down to one simple thing: Ricochet anti-cheat. Because I genuinely think I'm not being dramatic when I say that I think Ricochet anti-cheat is one of the worst anti-cheats I think I've seen for pretty much any AAA title. Credit where credit is due, it has had some incidents and moments for a month or two where it does appear to be in control of everything going on. But you also get prolonged months like the last 2 to 3, where Ricochet anti-cheat almost seemingly doesn't exist. But before we talk about the current situation in Warzone and why Ricochet anti-cheat seemingly is getting absolutely overwhelmed, I want to flash back to the Black Ops 6 beta. Because for those of you who were unfamiliar, during the Black Ops 6 beta, there were a number of temporary bans handed out to a number of different people. One that Call of Duty themselves acknowledged was down to the fact that Call of Duty's anti-cheat was too sensitive during the Black Ops 6 beta. This meant that a number of regular players who seemingly did not have any cheating against them whatsoever were receiving 30-day bans from playing the game and effectively were barred from touching the Black Ops 6 beta entirely. And I actually reached out to a number of people who were banned for 30 days and asked them if I could find any common denominator around what was getting them banned from the Black Ops 6 beta. Now, anti-cheats in the past are not perfect. There have been anti-cheats that have been triggered by fan softwares and controllers for computers, or motherboard software that controls the RGB on a computer. There have been a number of incidences in the past where something as simple as you trying to change your fans from blue to white will genuinely get you triggered in an anti-cheat situation in a number of different titles. And I thought it probably could be the same for this anti-cheat, for Ricochet in particular, that there was just a common denominator, something like Corsair IQ, a fan software, NZXT, whatever it so happens to be. And after speaking to upward of 20 people, the answer was none of that. No one, from as far as I could see, seemingly had any common denominator software that led to their ban. I'm talking about things like DS4 Windows, I'm talking about things like RGB softwares. Now, it is entirely possible that some of these people were just not being honest with me and did have something on their system, but I actually think that this paints a more challenging story than we thought before. One of the people who was banned in question for 30 days is somebody I actually have played with before casually in ranked games, and I have zero reason to believe this player is cheating, and a really strong belief that he is just a normal player who is quite gifted. And generally speaking, from the footage he streamed himself, there's nothing there to illustrate that there was anything wrong. But he also was somebody hit with a 30-day temp. And this very much leads me to believe that this is a really worrying sign that Ricochet anti-cheat for Black Ops 6 is not only identical to what we're currently seeing in Warzone, but that they don't have any solutions. I genuinely believe that Call of Duty deployed these 30-day temporary bans during the Black Ops 6 beta as a way of guaranteeing that casual players with lower KDs who have never really played Black Ops 6 or, might play COD casually would never encounter a cheater. So rather than actually having an effective anti-cheat that would identify whether or not somebody's just good at the game, or somebody who is statistically improbable in cheating, they are genuinely just blanket enforcing some of the worst temporary bans I've seen as a way of maybe making sure that if a 500 people or so are affected and it just happens to be that they're good at the game, it means that a couple of thousand of players won't encounter them and won't think there's a cheater in their lobby. And this is insane. It basically means that Ricochet anti-cheat systems are so outdated and so non-functional that their only solution to making sure that the Black Ops 6 beta, which is a marketing piece for the most part, don't get me wrong, they did make some feedback changes, but it is a first look at the game, their only solution was just to make the anti-cheat as sensitive as humanly possible and crossfire a number of normal players who weren't cheating to get this done. They don't have an actual solution to solve the cheating situations that they're experiencing with the IWA engine, with Warzone, and with Black Ops 6, so the solution was just to be as aggressive as humanly possible and ruin a lot of other people's times. Now, some of you might be a little bit skeptical about this statement. You might just be thinking, well, actually, no, some of the guys who got those 30-day temp bans were probably cheating, and I just don't know any better. But the reality is that Ricochet anti-cheat has shown time and time again that it isn't capable of doing even basic anti-cheat functions. For example, if you unlock something in Battlefield 2042, a game from an entirely different publisher, with an entirely different anti-cheat, with an entirely different setup for everything, If you unlock something at maximum level when you're a brand new account, you are instantly banned from the game. We're talking about something that is so instantaneous, it detects that you have access to something that you shouldn't have access to. And a number of other games are very easily capable of doing this. They identify that somebody has equipment, weapons, or items that they shouldn't have because they haven't leveled up sufficiently, and it's an instant ban. Over the past couple of weeks, even the past couple of months, I have seen anything from brand new accounts who are level 100 to level 400 having the highest mastery camos in the game unlocked across all their weapons, facing no bans at all. And these guys are very obviously cheating. They have access to weaponry, equipment, and general customization options that shouldn't be available at their level, and Ricochet is incapable of even registering that. Something as simple as if X is unlocked before Y isn't in Ricochet Anti-Cheat's locker, even though it is in the locker of pretty much any other modern AAA standard anti-cheat. And what's more alarming is that about 3 or 4 months ago, there were times where I was seeing instant Ricochet bans for players who were very obviously rage hacking, players who just didn't care, were spin botting, were rage hacking, were shooting people through walls, shooting people through buildings, or very obviously getting zero recoil headshots. And over the last 2 to 3 months, I have seen none of that. It has taken players 3 or 4 deaths on me individually in order for Ricochet to even wake up and consider banning a person, and there have been a number of times where I've seen people who are very obviously cheating, whether it's wall hacking, aimbotting, or so on and so forth, who just aren't being banned at all. One account in particular that I was interested in was somebody who actually replied to my messages because I messaged him saying, "Lol, why are you cheating?" I was being a little bit salty about it, and a month later that account still hasn't been banned by Ricochet Anti-Cheat. At a very fundamental level, Ricochet is incapable of identifying basic statistics that are just incorrect. Whether somebody has a mastery camo and they're only level 5, and they should be at least level 3 or 400 in order to have one of those things, or if somebody has a 20 to 40% headshot ratio and they're not getting banned, that is a huge red flag that this anti-cheat is just incapable of doing what it's supposed to be doing. There was a period of time during Warzone where I was seeing 2 to 6 accounts per game getting banned, and whilst that may not sound like a huge number, we are talking about 2 to 6 cheaters who are very likely going to make it to the end circles and very likely going to ruin lots of other people's games. I would say the impact that they would have on that lobby is about 3 to 4-fold the impact an average player would have. As of right now, I am seeing lobbies where I am seeing back-to-back-to-back cheaters. I am seeing lobbies like the other day when I was live, where 2 whole teams of people who were cheating were just fighting each other in the end circle. And nobody was banned by Ricochet. Nobody was booted from the game. I've had a few other games where somebody has been booted, but their teammates who are still clearly cheating haven't been booted. I have seen lobbies where somebody is actually quite good at obviously hiding it, and they aren't aimbotting and generally just wall hacking, who are just walking around the game in every single lobby without facing any action from the game whatsoever. This is below BattlEye. This is below Easy Anti-Cheat. This is below even EA's new upcoming EA Anti-Cheat. We're talking about an anti-cheat that I genuinely at this point believe to be the bottom of the pile. Not even close to being functional, not even close to being effective enough to keep Warzone safe. And if I'm being entirely honest, there's no excuse for it either. This is a proprietary engine that Call of Duty have produced. It is their own game engine, their own security team, and they should be as effective as somebody like Riot and Valorant, who have their own engine and their own anti-cheat and are enforcing it at a level that's so far above the rest of the industry, it is industry leading. Riot's always-on anti-cheat is the only way something like Call of Duty in the future is going to get better, and it blows my mind that they haven't made any strides to move in that direction. The anti-cheat going into Black Ops 6 is going to be the same anti-cheat. They might make it more sensitive for the first month or two, which is going to result in temporary bans and shadow bans for players who don't deserve it, but that's the only solution they seemingly have. And generally speaking, this is a year where if Call of Duty Warzone and Call of Duty generally starts to falter, it is going to be on the anti-cheat, because it's going to be on the perception it creates around Warzone and the perception it creates around Call of Duty. I have had so many people in my stream chats and in comment sections tell me that they've quit Warzone because they've encountered a couple of cheaters and it's enough to make them stop playing. And Call of Duty might be the only franchise that's normalized the behavior of cheaters to an extent where they're just expected to crack on with it, when in reality, most players will just stop playing. By 2025, we're going to have Area 99. We're going to have a brand new movement system that lots of people have generally wanted to see, or a movement system that feels fluid. We're going to have Verdansk. We're going to have old school weaponry. We're going to have all the things that fundamentally make Warzone a good title and create good core gameplay. But if people aren't playing it, or if people start quitting it in droves, it's going to come down to the anti-cheat. It's going to come down to the perception it creates, the environment it's created, and the overall culture it's created for Warzone. I've made a number of videos about professional Warzone players and how they play better, what they look to do, and my comment sections are inundated with players who just feel as though they're cheating, because there's such little trust in the systems available in-game that they genuinely don't believe that somebody could be that caliber. It is probably the only place, the only video game I can think of in the first-person shooter space where people are disliked for being better because there's no trust that they're legitimate. It's something that absolutely has to be resolved, and honestly, if you're thinking about buying Black Ops 6, I would wait. I would wait a month, I would see how things go, I would maybe get it on Game Pass, because multiplayer and Warzone especially are going to be in a lot of trouble, I feel. Zombies obviously are zombies, and it doesn't matter that much, but I genuinely feel, and you could bookmark this video, a month after release in Black Ops 6, you're going to see some very serious problems. So folks, that's it for this video today. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one.